Good morning, everyone. It is 7:15 in the morning on December 12th. I'm going to call this my COVID-19 freedom walk. So this is the first time I've been allowed out of the house because I've been quarantined for 11 days. That's Nina. She's out with me in my bedroom with COVID-19. I did actually get it. It's not a conspiracy. It's real. It's kind of like the worst flu I ever had. It's kind of like, started with a headache, nauseousness. Thought I had a migraine. Took some Motrin, didn't work. Found out I'd been exposed to it. Went and got tested, came back positive. Within 2 days, I was getting congested, short of breath, coughing, runny nose, low-grade fever, fatigue, tired, dizzy, all that. And it lasted a while, and I got over the hump. So between day 6 and 8 is going to be the worst days. If you either get better or you get worse. If it gets down in your lungs on those days, that's when you end up going to the hospital. At one point I thought I almost had to. I woke up in the middle of the night really short of breath, but it cleared by morning. I felt better. Fell back to sleep and woke up feeling better. And then gradually the symptoms have been less and less and less. Today I feel pretty good. I just have a little bit of congestion, a little bit of a cough, and that's it. And that's all I had yesterday too. No, I had a headache yesterday, but not that it matters. And no fever. So glad to get out of the house after living in my bedroom. So this is, as you saw at the opening, the the Empire Trail, which is the overall trail system in New York State, which is opening across the state in sections. This is the section right across the street from my house. They call this the Albany-Hudson Electric Trail. There used to be an electric train line on this path where we are, which went from Albany, New York to Hudson, New York, and then passed through the little village of Valatie where I live and up to Kinderhook Lake. There used to be an amusement park there at the turn of the century, like 1906 or something, and the train took people, actually I believe it went all the way to New York City, and it brought people up there, and it was pretty popular. They would come up from the city and go to this amusement park on a lake, and there was like there's pictures of it online I've seen. There was a very old style roller coaster out on the water and a whole bunch of other things. Anyhow, it feels great to be out here. So this trail stretches, this section is done from Albany to Hudson, New York. I'm walking south toward Hudson, New York, and I'm going to walk quite a ways. I don't know how far yet. I got to see how I feel, if I get fatigued or not. That's my big question. I feel good right now because next month I'm still planning on hiking the Oshita Trail with my son and my good friend Richard and his son-in-law down in Arkansas and Oklahoma. So getting ready for that. I got to get out and get moving. So they did all this work in about 1.5 years. They started last year and they finished it this year. Finished just this fall. But I thought I'd just get a shot of how they did the intersections on roads. This is just a little side road. But they did a fantastic job. They were trying to raise money to do this trail for the longest time. They would be at the Columbia County Fair, where I live, and trying to raise money. And I used to give them money because I wanted the trail to be done. And they never had enough. And finally the state stepped in because they wanted to complete the trail all the way from New York City to Albany and Albany to Buffalo. And they gave me a huge grant, millions of dollars, as you can imagine. And they finally built the trail. And they did a fantastic job. Here's one negative on the trail. A waste of the New York State taxpayers' money. Why didn't they put one pole up with one New York State sign and simply put the bike underneath the pedestrian? I wonder how much those signs cost. Crazy. Anyway, the trail follows the sidewalk in some sections because, as you can imagine, that train track has been gone since, I don't know, probably 1910 or 1915. So the roads have been rerouted. Sorry for the traffic noise. So this section covers the sidewalk, and you can see where that gas station is up ahead. It's Stewart's. We're going to turn right just before it and head back into some apple orchards, I believe. Down into the village of Kinderhook now. This is the Trolley Depot. That's the electric train as it looked in 1900. You can see the horse and buggy and dog. And that is the train station today, the one in that picture, which looks like somebody's living in it now. I think it's a house. They've added a bunch of like little townhouses to it. Pretty cool. We're headed up this way. One thing New York State is known for is apple orchards. And we have a lot of them around here. Those are the big crates that they pack the apples into when they pick them. Not sure which one this is. There's a number of them around us. I think they do cider too. That might be a cider truck. You can see the water tower over there. Yeah, pretty sure. Because look at those tanks. Looks like they're installing new tanks to do cider with. Oh, looks like they're even building a new building out here. And this is still all along the trail. So a lot of this trail, we're still within the village of Kinderhook. Some of it is paved, some of it is gravel. This is the paved part of it. And we'll be going through some gravel in a little while. But yeah, look at the size of that stack of crates. I don't think there's anything in them. I'm guessing there's not, but that would be a lot of apples. Heading south. Behind these more mature apple trees, you can see there's a whole bunch of immature ones. And then way in the distance past the field that looks like it has a golden hay or something on it, there's a lot more orchards, a lot more trees. So we're passing back behind some baseball diamonds here in the village of Kinderhook. That is the roller coaster I mentioned. It was down on Kinderhook Lake, and Kinderhook Lake is actually in Valatie, not the village of Kinderhook. It's confusing. The town of Kinderhook encompasses the village of Kinderhook and the village of Valatie. I live in the village of Valatie. So I'll put a still shot in on this so you can read it. Pretty interesting. We're still next to the apple orchard. So most of the people I'm passing out here are wearing masks. A few are not. But I have an N95 around my neck, which I'm wearing when I'm walking near anybody. I've been wearing it at home too when I'm out of my room. I don't trust the CDC's guidelines. They were 14 days on it and they backed it down to 10 for isolation. And I'm still isolating for 14 days at home. I still have symptoms. I still have a cough. I still have a runny nose. And I don't want to give this thing to anybody. So technically I am off isolation though, and I'm allowed to go out. I could even go to the store if I wanted to, but I don't think I would. I'm not going to do it for till the 14 days is up, which will be when I go back to work on Tuesday next week. But I feel good. I'm walking pretty far. No fatigue. This is kind of a big test for me, like, will I get fatigued? And I'm going to keep walking like this every day when I'm off work because to get ready for our big hike next month. Get myself back in shape after being in bed for 10 days. That takes a lot out of you. But doing well. This is my church. Walked all the way to the other side of the village of Kinderhook. Christian Community Church of Kinderhook started out as a coffee house in 1972. This was an actual barn, and a bunch of teenagers, along with my former pastor and a gentleman named Hazen Berry, who used to live in the house up there. Our church owns that house, and one of our elders lives in it. And they cleaned that whole thing out, renovated it, and made it into a coffee house, and they had Christian bands there. And they would kept going through the 70s and into the 90s as a coffee house. But back in back in 1976, the pastor of the Presbyterian church that helped turn this into a coffee house eventually became an elder there. There were two or three elders, which was the equivalent of a co-pastor. And it was a charismatic church, and it still is. So you can see that row of trees that follows a road back to a big old farmhouse. There's 3 houses down there, and we lived there from 1991 until 2001. We rented a house back there, my wife and I, when our older kids were young, and we lived there for 10 years in a rented house, and then eventually we moved back out to Buffalo area where I'm from, and then came back out here. Loved living down there. It's a beautiful area. It was a nice little house at the end of that road, probably about a half a mile down. And I'm not going to go down there. It's a private road. The trail doesn't go down there, but yeah, it was where we lived. I always liked that big old tree there at the end. Many memories of coming up this dirt road, pushing baby strollers to get our mail at that mailbox, and all the way down to the house down there. So part of the reason I make these videos is to preserve family history for my kids, hoping they'll look back at my videos years from now. And this is part of our family history. Here we are on the approach to where the geese are. I'm going to zoom out because it's shaky. I don't know if I'll scare them to take off or not. Having the dog might. But they're pretty far away from me. They're at least 100 yards from me. So they may not fly. I thought I'd get the video rolling in case they did take off. I could catch them just going into the air. So that is the farmhouse that I used to live behind. Can't see the house I lived in, it's way back. But yeah, there's the geese out in the field. Canadian geese. Oh, maybe a couple hundred of them at the most. It's a beautiful morning here. We're heading up that way. So I'm heading back now on my hike, what I'm calling my COVID-19 freedom hike, getting out of the house finally. According to Google Fit, I did 4.6 miles total before I turned around, which if that's accurate, that's like, it means I'll be doing like 9.2, which I don't know if I believe that, but I'm gonna map it out on Google Maps and verify that mileage. I don't know if the GPS is always accurate. And I'll put it on the screen on the video. I camera taped everything on the way up here, so I'm not going to do a lot more camera work on the way home, since I'm heading in the opposite direction, going back home again. So thanks for coming along on my first hike out of the house post COVID-19.